In Shakespeare's Hamlet, the prince asks, to be or not to be? At the end of a dance, as I stand still in my final pose, I find myself asking a very different question. To bow or not to bow? Bowing throughout history and across all human societies has always meant respect. It's a way for the performer to say thank you to the audience. But as a Chinese classical dancer, I'm not just a performer. Rather, I become someone else. Whether it's a Tang Figurant who woke up in a museum or a waiting bride from Song Dynasty, I bring my characters' emotions to life, expanding them in every breath, stretching them into every emotion. And in that space, there's only the dance. But then everything ends in 3 or 5 minutes. If I bow, I'm saying, see, everything's only a show. But oftentimes, I want my characters to live on. So I walk off stage in silence as I see everything darken to death. And that walk, hearing the applause fade behind me and entering the backstage with all the nerves and praise, reminds me that I'm no longer just a character, but not only Michelle then either. Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Tong. I'm a student at SHSID for 11 years and a Chinese classical dancer for 13. And in every character I portrayed, I have the chance to live lives far beyond my own. And it is in these opportunities that I can finally step into the shoes of others and experience the emotions and stories that were completely different from mine. However, this ability and mindset didn't come naturally. I started dancing at the age of 3 in one of the most competitive dance academies across Shanghai. There were 40 kids in the class, 7 in the front row, and only 1 in the center. So, as you can imagine, the one spot in the center wasn't just a place. It was a symbol of approval, of talent, of being seen. So before I even came to realize how much I loved dancing or what dance even meant for me, I already knew what it meant and felt like to be recognized. So throughout my childhood as a dancer, I wasn't dancing with or for the emotion. It was for the spot in the center. And this continued after I left the dance academy. And even now, when I reflect back on these experiences, I'm shocked by the strong sense of ambition in the 7-year-old me. But I also understood where it came from. That environment taught me that dancing well needs to be seen. And even today, when I scroll through Red Note and see parents from the same dance academy asking, what should I do to encourage my kid who got switched to the back? I was reminded of the same feeling. And I also began to understand how easy it is to lose sight of the joy, the emotion, or the expression when you're too focused on where you stand. Years after I left the dance academy, I had the chance to step into the field of solo performances, and that's where things began to change for me. With my current teacher, I stopped asking, did they notice me? Rather, we studied emotions together. We asked, who is she? What is she feeling? And maybe the hardest question of all, how do I, a teenager living in the 21st century, connect with someone who lived hundreds or even thousands of years ago and still make her real, make her human? I also began to forget the smile that appeared for the sake of smiling. And now I'm proud to say that in every photo of my performance, I can finally see emotions expressing through every part of me. In my eyes, in the tension in my shoulders, in the way I leaped, or even in the slightest details like the rise and fall of my breath. And that's what turned me from a good dancer into a good performer. And luckily, I received something in return, because every character brought out a different part of me. Patient and loving. In The Waiting Bride of the Song Dynasty, a young woman trained to honor tradition but also live her own life in a quiet strength. Curious and open-hearted. In The Chinese Coil Fish, who turned human just like a little mermaid, embracing a new world, not with fear, but with curiosity and bravery. Awakened and reflected. In The Tang Figurant, who woke up in a museum, willing and excited to embrace her own life, but only finding herself well aware of the rise and fall of her dynasty. And finally, confident and expressive. In The Qing Dynasty Girl, who is bold and even a little flirtatious, who is always willing to express herself, as well as the femininity that she has. And finally, I would say that all through these women, I had the chance to experience different lives. And it is through these opportunities that I told myself I wasn't, although I once wasn't someone particularly expressive or emotional, today I am. And it is in these experiences that I found that only if you're passionate, and only if you truly cared about the story you told, and only if I felt these emotions deeply in my own heart before I brought them to my audiences, that I have the power of perspective. So now, I do want to bow. I truly want to thank my audiences and my teacher, and of course the Dance Academy for teaching me how to be a good dancer. It is them that told me how to embrace life and how to embrace the stage. Of course, I improved my technique. But after all, it is the passion, it's the imagination, the vulnerability, and the creativity that allowed me to truly see things behind the dances. And it is these qualities that allow me to see all of you here and allow me to express myself not as Michelle, but as thousands of people that I embody. So yeah, so I guess that is the power of perspective. And now, although I think back of all that experience that I had, it's trauma, but it's also reflective on who I am. I am someone who dance well, but I'm also a storyteller and someone who's willing to see myself improve through this process. So thank you for listening, and here's a small video clip.